Hey everyone, on today's video, I'm going to be talking about the first 5 things I do to my RC rock crawlers to help them perform better. Like this RTR H10 optic, did wheels and tires, got the weight balance better, stronger steering servo, a better crawler motor, and all the products and companies I'm talking about in the video I have used myself. I don't, not sponsored by anyone, just trying to share some information to hopefully help someone out when they're setting up their crawlers. So I just want to say in this video, I'm going to be talking about items that anyone can buy and just should be bolt-on upgrades. So you don't have to make anything or do any like custom. First on the list, and pretty much first thing I change on any of my trucks after I've run them for a while, wheels and tires. The RTR wheels and tires that come on many trucks are not that good. A lot of them come glued onto plastic wheels, even the ones on bead locks. The tires aren't that great. The plastic bead locks aren't that great. So you'd want to get a set of aluminum bead locks, and pretty much any aftermarket tire is going to outperform any RTR tire. So we'll get to the bench and show you some options. As far as wheels and tires go, why you'd want to change these out on your crawler. These are the stock wheels and tires off the Healy Man, and they can actually come glued to these plastic wheels. You can take these apart, but it's not worth it. Tires just aren't that great. Once you switch to like an aftermarket tire, definitely notice a difference over anything stock. I always get a set of aluminum bead locks. These are some old Trail ones that I've had that I've painted. These Trail ones come with a brass center ring, which gives you that weight down low. And they also come with the wheel hub. Compared to something like these Vanquish wheels that come with a plastic center ring and no wheel hubs you have to buy separately. So just make sure you look at what you're buying. Then, ton of aftermarket tires out there. You have J Concepts, Proline, Deluxe, and these Reefs tires, which do really well. These are mounted up on a set of Trail wheels, and these have an extra brass piece that bolts right in. Kind of looks like a brake rotor, but I run these in the front of my base camp to give it that little bit of extra weight. Now, like these Vanquish wheels with the plastic rings, you can get brass rings to replace those to help dial in your weight. And this works, any scale. Like these are 1" 24th scale wheels that are actually solid brass, which I think, this entire wheel weighs less than the ring from the 1.9 Trails. All the way up to like 6 scale wheels and tires. Aluminum bead locks, some aftermarket tires make a huge difference on a truck. And they also help get that center of gravity down low. All right, second thing we're going to talk about is weight balance of the truck. You definitely want low forward weight, so the front axle has more weight on it than the rear. So if you notice, most RTRs going up something real steep or trying to get up onto a rock, and the front end, just wants to slip off, the truck wants to tip over because you don't have enough forward weight on the truck. So a lot of vehicles, the battery tray is up high or maybe in the rear of the truck. You could try running a smaller battery. Take some weight off the top. But for bolt-on options, we're going to talk about brass, which is adding weight onto the front axle so that you have that forward bias, so the front wants to stay down and your tires have enough grip to actually pull you over an obstacle. So I'll get to the bench, show you a couple options. Now for weight balance, we're going to be talking about brass. This is a Trail brass knuckle for SCX 10 Pro axle. That's exactly what it is, just a big chunk of brass that replaces your old plastic knuckle. Here's what they look like on a straight axle truck. We have brass diff cover, and I have brass knuckles on the end to help give it that weight balance that you're shooting for. On a portal truck, you have an outer brass cover on your portal box, and it's a little hard to see because it's painted black, but that is a brass inner portal box cover. So you get two different pieces there that you can decide to do one or both depending on how much weight you need to get your truck balanced out right. Alright guys, as far as brass goes, I know it's tempting to go on like Amazon and just find something really cheap for your truck, but just personal experience, I've done that before, and the parts would bolt on, but like some of the brass knuckles wouldn't get full steering, and they just weren't that great, and ended up, not being able to use the part. So, just gonna throw out some names. Like I showed you, I use a lot of Triel brass. I have my notes here. I use a lot of Triel parts. They're pretty good company. Most of their parts, are made very well, and they're relative, budget friendly. But there's also Triel, SSD, Vanquish, Deluxe, all makes brass. And even part of that weight balance, like I showed in the wheels, could be like those brass inserts that go in the wheels. Put those in the front, that'll help get you some better weight balance too. All right, third item on the list, steering servos. Now most RTRs come with a plastic case servo. The gears inside aren't very strong. The motor isn't very strong. So you'll notice, when you're on a rock or the trail, your tires are against something and they just won't turn. It's because your servo isn't strong enough. Most RTRs come with like a 200 ounce servo. So you can definitely find budget options, but I'm going to talk about some higher end ones. I run a lot of reefs, but what you really want is an all aluminum case, hardened steel gears, and a more powerful servo. Most trucks I run at least a 500 ounce servo, and you can go up from there. I think there's 1400 ounce servos now that you can bolt into a 10th scale. Also, if you're running like a servo on axle setup, you can buy a brass servo. So the whole case is made out of brass, and that goes back to getting that better weight balance on your truck, that forward weight. So you'd have that chunk of brass right on the front axle to help keep that front end down and give you more steering power. So I'm going to go to the bench, show you the difference between a stock RTR servo and an upgraded one. Stock servo in the Vanquish truck. Works pretty good. Definitely good for general use. Versus Reef's 900. Hey guys, and again, I'm not sponsored by any company, but I just like to help share information. Hopefully it helps somebody out. So I run a lot of the Reef servos. Never really had a problem with those. I like them. Some people don't. It just comes down to preference. But there's also Shifts RC. Makes some really popular servos. I see a lot of guys running those. NSDRC makes a lot of servos. And I believe Holmes Hobbies makes some too. So check out the different companies and decide what is right for you. Fourth thing on the list is the motor, or motor and ESC, depending on what you go with. Now, there's a lot of options out there. I'm just going to talk about a few, some of the more popular ones and ones that I run myself. So there's Hobbywing, Holmes Hobbies, and even Spectrum all make nice crawler systems. With Hobbywing being some of the more popular ones, especially their fusion motors, because they just fit in so many trucks. They're very easy to install and work well. So I'll get to the bench, show you a few options. All right, when it comes to motors, you have a lot of options. A lot of ready to runs comes with a brushed motor. And depending on, budget, because anywhere from a $20 motor up to a couple $100. You can get something like the Holmes Crawlmaster Sport motors and a Hobbywing 1080 ESC and swap out your stock system for a little better performance. If you want to go brushless, you got tons of options too, but some very popular ones are the Hobbywing Fusion motors, which this is the motor and ESC all in one unit. It's a Fusion SE. You can get a Fusion Pro, which is 2300 kV, which is a little faster of a system. And if you do go like a Hobbywing, you can get one of their program cards so you can change the settings and make it exactly how you want the truck to run. Now in this Trail X RTR truck, there is a Hobbywing Fusion SE that came in it, and you can get nice slow crawl out of these. This gives you that nice slow crawl, a lot of control over the truck. Even going over an obstacle, plenty of control. Also over the stock systems, you have much better drag brake. Alright, last thing on the list is the driver mod. Yes, I stole that from ExoCaged. He might actually have some for sale. But really though, best thing to do for any crawler to perform better, just take the thing out and drive it. Doesn't matter what wheels and tires, how much brass you put in the thing, or how powerful your motor is. If you don't learn how to drive it, that stuff isn't worth much. So you're just gonna get out, spend the time, see what your truck does on your terrain, and just have fun with it. You know, it's an RC car. So that's gonna wrap it up for today's video. Hopefully you made it to the end. Hope you enjoyed it, maybe learned something from it. Thank you for watching.